And we will start right now. So I want to thank everybody for joining us today. My name is Robert Vale. I'm Vice President Sales here at GENEA. Today's webinar, Keeping Workplaces Healthy and Safe with a Touchless Visitor Management. We are going to walk you through a brand new service that we just launched this week. It's our brand new touchless visitor management tool that is natively integrated into our access control product. So for those of you who are familiar with GENEA and our services, this is a very exciting venue for us. The beauty of this is we've built this out with customers. So over the last 4 months, we've had a lot of interaction with folks from the commercial real estate industry, from CBRE, from Hines, from Boston Properties and Brookfield, amongst others, to help us really vet out and design some of the nuances of the product to make sure that what we're bringing to market is the best in class and that is going to work for all of our customers across the country and across the world. So we were very excited to walk through this with everybody, and this is a kind of a first showcase of a brand new service from GENEA. So today on the panel, once again, my name is Robert Vale. I'm Vice President Sales here at GENEA. Also with us is Matija Abisic. He is our product manager. So Matija is involved in the day-to-day of managing all the product, developing with our developers, showcasing it. He's going to be the one who actually walks you through the product demonstration today. So very excited to have Matija showcase his talents. And then with us as well as Mike Maxeni, who's head of our access control division here at GENEA. So those of you not familiar with Mike, GENEA actually acquired Mike's access control company back in December. So Mike has joined the family and love having him on board. And he's also been instrumental in doing this. So Mike will walk you through a lot of the story of why we built the product, how it works. And then, like I said, Matija will go through the specific demo. For those of you not familiar with GENEA, I'm going to just give some background on the company, who we are, what we do. We'll talk, the agenda today is obviously a little bit of background on us. We'll talk about our visitor management, the access control solution. It's one seamless tenant and visitor experience. We'll of course do the product demo, and then we'll take some feedback. We'll talk about the roadmap and additional features that we're going to be launching over the next handful of months. So that's kind of our general agenda today. Once again, if you have any questions, send it through the chat or through the Q&A. We will do our best to answer in a timely manner. For those of you not familiar with GENEA, we are a software company based in Southern California out of Irvine. We've got 3 regional offices, so Southern California, Michigan, as well as Atlanta. When we started our company, started selling our services about 8.5 years ago, we first started with a solution for overtime HVAC, which was in about 9 million square feet of office space. Today, as a total platform, we are in over 250 million square feet of office space across the country, over 1,500 buildings. We're an international company now, thanks to our wonderful enterprise customers on the security and access control side. We're in over 15 different countries. We've got a net promoter score of 75. And the reason that we take a lot of pride in that is because we put a lot into the service and support of our business. So we provide 24/7 support for all of our customers, as well as their end users, meaning tenants and buildings, end users who are using our product. They have access to our team 24/7 via live chat or via phone call. And that's helped with our customer retention rate of 99%. You get an idea of some of the companies who we work with, all across the country, names that you've worked with, buildings that you've occupied, companies and you're very familiar with. So, very proud of the companies who we work with all across the country. So what makes us different than any other commercial real estate technology provider is we are hardware agnostic. So what does that mean? Regardless of which product you have, our solutions are designed to work with what is currently in place. Meaning, if you use our overtime HVAC product, we can work with any building automation system on the market, regardless of Trane or Siemens or Andover. If you are using our sub-meter billing solution, we can work with all of your meters that are in place. So if you've got Eamon Demons, you've got Leviton, you've got Dent, it doesn't really matter to us. We can support that. And on the access control side, our solution is built upon non-proprietary hardware, so anything that is Mercury-based. And that gives much more flexibility to our customers, and it also reduces the cost of having of changing to a better software solution. And we'll talk about that later on. We are very big on integrations. We are very integration heavy. We have partnerships with both Building Engines as well as Angus on the work order side. We do massive integrations into directory solutions like Okta, Azure, G Suite. We do integrations with Teams as well as Slack to really provide a seamless solution for all of our customers to interact. We never charge any setup fees when it comes to our software solutions. We look at this as we bet on ourselves. Anytime you want to work with GENEA, all we ask for is a 1-year commitment at a fixed monthly fee. And our job is to prove ourselves over and over again and earn that contract every single year. The only time there's any upfront fees is if you need to change out any hardware on the access control or the visitor management side, but that's a one-time fee just to make a better software solution. And then, of course, the ongoing support. So GENEA employees on call 24/7, taking care of all of our customers. It's really what makes us different than anybody else. So 3 solutions: overtime HVAC, sub-meter billing, and access control, with visitor management being a part of the access control solution. So we're going to talk about that portion today. We're going to layer in some access control as well, because the two go hand in hand. You know, when somebody comes into a building, whether it be a visitor or a tenant, but a visitor comes in and they need to get through security or through a turnstile, that needs to interact with the access control system. So it's really vital for us to have a natively built visitor management system that's already integrated with the access control solution. It makes it much simpler for the building teams and our customers to roll out wherever they are, because it's natively built into the system without having to try and get multiple companies to communicate together to try and make things work. It's just a much better platform. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and pass it over to Mike Maxeni. Mike's going to kind of walk through the next part of the presentation here, talk about the problems in this industry, why we developed our solution, and then give you some background on it, and then we'll pass it over to Montia to actually do the live demo. So Michael, let's take it away. Mike, can't hear you.
Sorry about that. I'll do it on my phone as well, so just to make sure everyone can hear me. Hello, everybody. For those of you that I have not met, I see a few familiar names on the list here. But I'm Mike Maxeni. I'm the Director of Access Control here at GENEA. So what I want to do is kind of give you a quick overview of what are the problems that we want to solve with our upgraded visitor management solution. For some of our enterprise customers that have joined us today, you're probably either using our visitor management system that we already had, or have experienced it, taken a look at it. So obviously, when the world changed in March, we had to rethink the entire visitor management product. And there's a few core problems that we were solving for, right? How do we keep buildings secure? That's native to who we are on the access control side. 2 is, how can we make this process very efficient and easy for both your not only your employees and your tenants in your building, but for the guests as well. And 3 is how do we make it a completely touchless journey for again, not just employees and tenants, but also for your guests. 4 is, and this is really coming out of the need to do contact tracing and make sure that you have a record of everyone who is on site. But we wanted to have a natively built visitor management system alongside of our access control system to give you quick and easy access to the data and the knowledge of who was on site. So that was a huge problem we wanted to make sure we were solving for. And then last but not least is, how do you make this easy to adopt? With everyone, everyone's lives changing so quickly, it's important for not just us, but for all software vendors, all vendors in general, to make adopting new policies and procedures as easy as possible. So that was, again, when we're designing the product, a core issue we want to solve for is making it very easy to adopt. So moving on into, just to give you guys an overview of our ecosystem, right? For those of you that are familiar, the core of our product is the access control system. And on top of that, we have integrations to different video management systems. And then, of course, now our native visitor management system. The idea behind all this is to, again, give you one cloud-based interface to manage all aspects of security for your enterprise or for your building. And then, of course, 24/7 support is just who we are. It's part of our DNA as a company. From day one, when I started the access control product back in 2015, we had live chat support built in, and but there's a lot of sleepless nights where I was just sitting on intercom chatting with you guys. And so now that we're a big company, it's nice to have a team to handle that. But 24/7 direct service and support is obviously critical. So part of the evolution of access control and visitor management has been the rise of the necessity of a touchless access journey across every access point, right? How do we credential people in a touchless manner? Well, in access control, you get your mobile credential in your application, but how do we do that for guests? And then how do we use that mobile credential or that touchless credential across the parking gates, the turnstiles, the elevators, and ultimately into the suite door for the tenant? So this is the access journey the touchless journey we wanted to provide to every user of the GENEA Access Control and Visitor Management Suite. So the core of the product is all built around the self-service portals. So with our new visitor management solution, if you're using this for your tenants, they'll have a tenant portal that they can log into to add and remove their guests. This is also done in the mobile application, which Mattia will take you through. We envision most of the interaction with our visitor management system is going to be employees and tenants inviting guests through the mobile app. So again, having that all in the same application as your mobile keys and your visitor management solution makes sure that your tenants and your employees don't have to download multiple apps to interact with different pieces of the security suite as you're changing your processes for managing physical security. So go ahead to the next slide here. Inviting a new guest, the basic process is fairly simple. There's two core pillars of the relaunch of our visitor management solution. One pillar is guest pre-registration. So we want to make sure that when we're implementing these new processes that we're not jamming up your lobbies, that there's not a line of people signing forms, touching things in a lobby. We wanted to make sure that most of the interaction with the guests, all the vetting happens before anyone shows up on site. And then the second pillar of the product is the QR code infrastructure. So adding a new guest is very easy. You just pull up the GENEA mobile application, you input the name, email address, phone number of the guest, and then what times they're going to be on site. Then the guest is going to receive an email with a link to our visitor pre-registration form. And that's a customizable pre-registration form. I'll talk about how we can customize that a little bit later. But once they complete the form, they're issued a QR code. And that QR code, think of it like a boarding pass to get onto a plane. I know we all miss traveling for work. At least I do a bit. But when you get that QR code, you just download it to your mobile wallet on both iOS and Android. And that QR code can be used for a number of different purposes, all the way from just a basic check-in on an iPad kiosk through access to a parking gate, through a turnstile, in an elevator. You can use these QR codes as basically a mobile touchless credential for your guests. And it's very easy for them to get set up because we're not asking them to do anything they haven't been doing before. So moving on to inviting you guests, again, I talked about how this is done in the mobile app. And we're going to walk through that in the product demonstration. It's also available in the web app. So for office managers and people who have administrative access to the dashboard inside of GENEA, you'll be able to quickly and easily do that, again, inside of the same user interface that you've been using with their access control system. So with that said, I'm going to hand it off to Mattia because as much as I'd like to take credit for a lot of the beautiful design of our new visitor management system, I really can't take credit for that. I'm just the guy that asks the questions and tells others what to do. Mattia is really the guy who's responsible for putting the rubber to the road here. So Mattia, thanks. Take it away.
Thank you, Mike, and hello, everybody. My name is Mattia, and I manage products at GENEA. So what I want to show you today is the perspective on our new visitor management update from three different perspectives. So from the perspective of a tenant employee or employee manager, the office manager, and what the experience looks like when you're inviting somebody to come and meet with you on site. What does that experience look like from the perspective of the visitor themselves? And then finally, for our property teams and building landlords, how do they maintain the visibility and control over who is coming to their buildings? So let's start with that employee role. So what I will do, and I have my phone plugged in my computer so you can see exactly what I see here. I use my phone to open up the parking garage ramps, to open up the base building door all the way up to our office suite to let myself into our office. And I do that with our mobile entry app. So all in one, I have my digital key card. And by the way, I don't need to actually open the app as I'm walking through the doors. It's just sitting there playing nicely in the background. Now, in this case, for our demo purposes, I also happen to be the office administrator, so I can see all my employees. I can manage their access. I can also unlock or lock the doors. I can also grant quick access to the doors. I have quick access to emergency features such as lockdown or to open all doors in case of fires, which we hope you guys never need, and we hope that we never need. And then lastly, the big new update is our visitor management dashboard. So right in the same app that gives me access to my building and to my office, I now have an ability to see who is coming to visit me. I can filter my lists based on the visitor name or which one of the employees they're visiting, their status or the date when they're coming. And if I happen to be administrator of multiple locations, I can also see all of those locations in the same app. So from this point, I can see who has already arrived on site. I can see people who have been invited, and I can also see people who have pre-registered online. That means they've gone through their a questionnaire process and they were given the QR code that I'm going to show you in this demo. So let's go and add a new visitor. I can do that in two different ways. I can go to my visitor address book. Now, here we keep track of people who were previously invited. We keep track of their name and email address. That just makes it really easy to go to somebody's profile and hit add a new invite, and the information is just pre-populated for me. So I don't need to stumble through my keyboard and misspell their email addresses. Another neat thing that I can do from here, I can also see the invite history, which in this case, this person doesn't have, but I can see every time in the past. When they came on site, I can see when they checked in, when they checked out, and even if they declined my invites or if their QR code was denied via the automatic process, which I'll show in a second as well. Now, for this demo, I will actually go and add an invite from scratch. So I will start typing my name. I will be inviting myself to come and meet with, let me make sure I spell that correctly, to come and meet with my boss. So in this case, as I'm typing my name, the app is trying to match an existing person from the address book. Now, because I'm not in the address book, I can just quickly tap add. So here, I will type in my email address, and I can speak and type at the same time. So I'll go get.com. I have messed up many demos by mistyping my email address. Okay, so I have my name, my email. I'll set up my time of the meeting. Let's say on this Friday from 8 to 12, which is the time window when the invite will be active. And now I can select a host. So I can either select the user that I'm logged in, which is happens to be Cindy Ramos, which is the office manager. But actually, this person is coming to meet with my boss, who happens to be Kenzie. So I'll select Kenzie as the host. And now I can add a few more other points here. So for example, I can add a note for the visitor themselves, and I can say, please come straight up to the 16th floor. So that will show up on the invite of the visitor. And another thing that I can do is for the building reception or for the building security team downstairs, I can leave a note for them and I can say, please grant them access to exec board room. Okay, so now when my visitor comes and checks in at the building, the security staff will know exactly where to send that person and how to give them access to where they need to go. So I'll hit create, and now a couple of things will happen. One, the person appears obviously in the dashboard with a status of being invited, so I haven't pre-registered yet. My host team now can see that, and as well as the property team. So my building team now knows who's expected to come to the building. Another thing that happens, the visitor, obviously they get an invite, and for that I'll open up my email address. There it is, GENEA invite. And what I can see here is a few quick pieces of information that are helping me get to the right place at the right time. I can see the time and date of the meeting. We can also add simple things like a shortcut to the map. So based on the building address, we can send you directly to the place where you need to be. And I can see a note here from Kenzie that says, please come straight up to the 16th floor. So I know what to do when I get to the building. So what I'll do right now, I have two options. I can decline or check in online. I'll hit the big blue button. And the next thing that happens is because we have a unique URL for each visitor that can only be used once, that allows us to open that link on any device, on any native browser of that device. So what that means is that regardless whether you're using that on your iPhone or your Android or your Mac or Windows PC, what happens is it opens up the browser. And the reason that's important, that allows us to provide this frictionless experience so that visitors don't have to download any third-party apps. They don't have to create any accounts or sign in anywhere and reset their passwords. This is a one-time URL and it just works on their native browser. So I can review my details for the meeting before I hit get started. And when I'm happy, I can get started with my pre-registration. So this takes us into a flow where we answer certain questions that are asked of us as a visitor from both the company, the tenant in a building, as well as the building landlord. We'll get in a second into how we actually configure those questions, which are customizable at both levels, both for the building and the customer and the tenant. So one of the questions is saying, have you visited UIG Technologies in the past? I'll say no. Which company you're visiting from? I am coming from GENEA, and I can hit confirm. So the next thing that happens is I'm asked a simple question. Do you have a valid COVID-19 test report that shows that you are staying on top of your required checks? So I will say, yes, I have that. And one point to bring up here is that if I answer no, which I don't want to do because I'll get kicked out of this process, I would get a friendly message saying that the automated process that would grant me a QR code is stopped at this point because this is a requirement either from the tenant or from the building in order for me to be able to come on site. And the next thing that will happen is there will need to be a manual follow-up. There will need to be a human interaction. My host will be notified right away that I am not granted access, and they will need to reach out to me to figure out the next steps. But for the purposes of our demo, I will go ahead and I will say I have a test report. I will hit next. And the next question is, have you been traveling in the past 14 days? Sadly, no, it's been a dull year. Do you have any of the following symptoms? I'll say no. And at this point, this is more of what you can configure either as a building or as a tenant in a commercial real estate building. So the policy of the building or my company may be such that every single visitor is required to have a identifying photo either on their visitor badge or on the sticky piece of paper that you put on your shirt as you're walking through the building or through somebody's office. So here I can either upload a photo if I'm using a computer that can come in very handy, or I can take one right on the spot. So if I'm checking into my meeting from an Uber or a train, what I can do is I can take a quick selfie. And I will do that here, switch my camera. That's as good as I'm gonna look today. Okay, I'll use that photo and I will hit save. And now when I show up on site, the badge that prints out my photo will be ready for me. I'll have my photo next to my name with a proof that I've checked in online and got my access to the building. So let's get into what else can we add to the process if we so choose. One of the things, because I'm visiting UIG Technologies, we are partners in some ways, GENEA and this fictional company, but also in some ways we may be competitors, so they're asking me to sign a non-disclosure agreement. So as a tenant who is using the tenant portal part of the visitor management system, I can add document signing right in the pre-registration process. So the benefit here is that I am not asking my visitors to read through the pages and pages of the NDAs and sign it in the lobby of the building or even in the lobby of my office suite. All that can be done before the person even shows up on site. What I can do here, I can quickly scribble my signature with my finger, and then I get another document. So this is now the building's liability waiver that they decided to add to the check-in process. The reasons may be that I have construction going on at the main entrance, or I may have unrestricted access to the gym, or we just live in COVID times and I am requiring a liability waiver from all my visitors. So what I'll do is I'll scribble a quick signature there, sign the agreement, and before I hit confirm, I can review the summary of my visitor check-in. So now when I hit confirm, again, a couple of things will happen. My host will be notified that I have just successfully pre-registered online. Property team will also see my status. and I will be issued a badge. This QR code will now give me access to the buildings. If I just show up and I show my QR code to the QR reader, the doors will open. And if the flow is set up in such a way, I can even have unrestricted access to the QR readers and doors all the way to the meeting room where I need to show up at 8 a.m. on Friday. Now, really neat thing that I love is that just like when you're checking into your flight, what you can do is you can add this to your mobile wallet. So if you're using iOS or Android, it doesn't matter, you'll get the same button. I'll get add to wallet and I will hit add. So now, even at an appropriate time before the meeting, again, just like your online check-in to your flight, what you can do is you can pull it up in your wallet where I keep my Starbucks card and everything else, and I can see my pass that I can quickly pull up as I walk up to the building. So that's a quick experience about how we get from employee perspective, how do we invite somebody on site, to the visitor, and how do they register to come on site. What I also want to quickly show is how do we set up that flow of how do we customize the questions that we ask of all our visitors. First, I want to refresh my visitor screen here. And what I will see, I have this new guy who's just registered. They've checked in online, so I know they passed all the questionnaire questions. This is where I can see who my visitors are. I can see my visitor address book. And by the way, of course, if I'm an office administrator or if I'm an employee, I don't have to pull my phone every time I want to invite somebody. I can do the same thing straight from the computer, as well as viewing visitor logs. And you can see when people are coming. You can filter and export this report. So Mike was referencing, for example, contact tracing. If for any reason we need to know exactly who was on site at any given time in the past however many days, you can quickly create that report yourself, export it into a CSV file, and give it to your operations people or to your legal department or to whoever else is running with that project at that point in time. So let's get into the check-in flow. Now, we have a way to create custom questions for both the companies, the tenants in the building, as well as the property team themselves. And we have two different ways of how we look at questions. One is simply informational. So when I was checking in, one of the questions was, have you visited UIG Technologies in the past? So that's a simple yes or no question that may be kept for statistics for the particular company. And as a tenant administrator, this is the question that I can manage. Now, what I can also see is what are the building check-in fields, and these fields I don't have control over. They just show up, and I can't remove them from the questionnaire because this is what a property team requires of every single visitor, regardless of what tenant they're visiting. Every single visitor needs to answer those. Another way to ask questions is by having this concept that we call advanced questions. Again, the idea carries here as well that buildings have their own advanced questions, tenants have their own set, and as you saw from the visitor perspective, I really don't know, nor do I care which question is coming from which side, be that the company I'm visiting or the building that company has the office space in. So one of the cool things that we can do here with advanced questions is we can set up simple smart rules and add simple logic to drive actions based on how people answer questions. So for example, in our question, do I have a valid COVID-19 test report? What you'll notice is that this is a question that a tenant added because that is their enterprise policy in all of their buildings that they have their office in. And if the visitor answers no, I can't prove that I'm COVID-free, at that point, we decide to what we call deny action, which means that the QR code won't be issued automatically. Host will be notified, host of the meeting, in that case, Cindy Ramos and Kenzie, who were inviting the person to come on site, and they will need to manually follow up with the person before they create another invite. Other things that we saw through the check-in process, I can simply turn on and off photo capturing, as well as document templates. So we saw the non-disclosure agreement. So there's a super easy way to have stuff like mail merge capabilities for a company name, visitor name, and put your legal document straight into the check-in process. So one of the last things that I want to show you is I'll sign out as Cindy, and I will actually log in as the building property team to show you what that experience looks like in terms of visibility and control from the property side. Again, I can talk and type at the same time. Okay, so we're inside our access control platform from the property side. And I won't go into the details of all the access control functionality. I'll skip straight down to our new update to the visitor management. So again, as a property manager, as a member of security staff, or whoever I am as a user that has access and permissions to see this, I can see a quick dashboard of all the visitors to my building broken down by tenant. So again, if I needed an export, if I needed to see all of the UIG Technologies visitors on a particular day and at a particular time, or even who went through a particular and gates, I could do that simply by adding filters to this view, adding the timeline, and then exporting it into a CSV file. So super easy to do that. As well, I can see people who are checked in. I can see the responses with the questions, and I can see the advanced answers that they answered and the actions that were driven. So for example, if the access was denied, I would be able to see all of that, as well as the documents that, that the visitors signed. So what can I do from here as a property team and manager? So for example, so what I can see is that this visitor has a note for what we call reception notes. So again, think security desk or the reception desk. And I can see that Kenzie here is saying, please grant him access to exec boardroom. Now, the thing with the executive suite boardroom is that that is usually off limits to most people. But what I can do, because of our tight integration with access control, when I open the profile of this visitor, I can actually change that. So when I look at a profile, I can see a few things. I can see a history of past invites. I can even see the log of all of the QR code scans, be they allowed or denied. I can see where this person went through the building, and I get dates and timestamps as they were walking through the building. So if the visitor makes a wrong turn, I can see that in the logs because they tried to scan in a door that didn't allow them access. Now, in our case, for this demo use case, I know that this person needs access to the 16th floor. Usually, we don't give that access to just about anybody, but I trust Kenzie, and she needs to meet at the executive suite. So what I can do here on an individual basis for this one-time use only, I can quickly go into my special elevator access control panel here. It's right here in the dashboard. I can add 16th floor executive suite, hit save, and that's it. So now what happens when the visitor comes to the front desk, I'll have a note that they're expected at the 16th floor. I already gave them access to the elevator. I'll just point them where the elevator is, and with their QR code, they'll be able to go straight to the meeting room where they're expected. As I covered already how we can change the questions that are being asked in the questionnaire, how the property team can add their own, as well as each tenant can add their own set of questions. And again, if we are in March 2020 and the world is changing seemingly overnight, this is a very, very simple and quick way to create a very rudimentary COVID-19 questionnaire that will make my building feel safer for my tenants, for my visitors, and as well as for my team members at a property. One last thing that I want to show here is some of the controls about how do you integrate this visitor management system into access control. So our access control relies on something that we call access groups, where we can group multiple doors under certain logical groups, as well as the elevator access groups. So what I can say here is that for all my visitors, I want to give them access to a particular set of doors or a particular set of elevators. Now, the nice thing about this is that if I have maintenance work scheduled, let's say next week for a given set of elevators, I can easily redirect all my visitors who usually go to elevator bank 1 to go to elevator bank 2, and the process is seamless, and the access with their QR codes just works. So I will stop the actual live demo here, and I'll flip it back to Rob to go back to the slide deck. But before I end, I just want to talk about the walk-in visitors. So naturally, you are not always pre-registering visitors. Sometimes you have people who just walk in off the street. So when we looked at a traditional way, how we handle that, or how everybody handles that, is that you have a notebook sitting somewhere on a counter, or you have, if you are technologically advanced, you have an iPad sitting somewhere in a lobby, and you ask people to tap through and register themselves to the iPad app. So when we started thinking about it, is that how do we bring the both together, and how do we translate that into a touchless environment? We came up with a way that you can do both. So you can check in people on the iPad if you choose to do that, but also everybody carries one of these in their pocket. Everybody has their mobile device, and there's no reason why we shouldn't allow people to self-check in through their mobile device. So if I'm walking up to the building and I can see a QR code either on the iPad, or you can have it printed in the windows, it's up to you how you decide to display this. I can point my QR code scanner, and again, it has a unique code for that property or for that office in office suite in the building. If you're an enterprise company, I can quickly pull it out, put in my name, contact information, who I'm visiting, which company I'm visiting. They will get notified, so that there's a way to delegate people who are receiving those notifications via email or Slack or Teams. And right away, as the new walk-in visitors registered, the designated people in the company know that they have somebody waiting in a lobby. At that point, they can decline and write a respectful no thank you note, or they can allow a visit, or they can even go downstairs and meet them.
Hey, Mattia, I'm going to go off script here real quick, because we did something really cool. And I think if everybody's watching at home, if you pull back up your demo screen, or you're doing the live demo and it has the live QR code, if everyone wants to pull it up like their phone, they can try it out.
Yeah, so let me do that real quick. So if you guys were quick enough to pull it out as we are, let me see, how do I show both of these? There we go. Let's improvise a little bit.
So if you take your phone right now and you pull up your camera, just like you go to restaurants right now where there's no more menus and there's a QR code on the desk. But for those of you who are interested, you can actually scan that right now, and you guys can try out the registration.
That was a little too quick. So let me do that again. Let me pull up my QR code scanner. Okay, so I'm gonna go slowly here. So there we go. That was quick again. So this pulls up a walk-in visitor registration where I can plug in my email and I can go through the walk-in check-in. That's a good call out, Rob.
All right, give me a second here, and then I'll reshare the screen.
So I know we have some questions. We'll get to them in a second. One last thing that I wanted to cover is what else is on our roadmap. So as we were going through development of the new version of our visitor management, we talked to a lot of people, both in the enterprise side and the property side. And there are certain topics and themes that kept repeating. So for example, the watch list. So how do you put people on a watch list or a BOLO list, what's known as a be on a lookout list? How do I prevent certain individuals from just getting that QR code automatically? How do I keep them in sort of a holding area? So in the next quarter or two, we are looking at adding more features to this visitor management system to make it fully fledged, so that you don't need any other workarounds as in your process, that all of it is delivered to you through technology. Another thing is ID scanning and validation. So how do we make it both for the property teams as well as the enterprises or tenants? How do you enable your visitors to quickly upload their IDs, and how do you validate them? Or for the security staff, how do we deliver that a seamless capability where you can just quickly slide and scan somebody's ID and it verifies you that it's not a counterfeit? It pulls up the information and pre-fills it into the visitor management system. We know that there's a big need to effectively handle package deliveries to office suites. So that's something that we're looking at, as well as the certificates of insurance. So this is one of the things that actually struck me by surprise, because I never even thought about it. We had contractors in our office who were installing big screens around our office, and they were there for about 3 or 4 days. So they were technically our visitors, but they were different kinds of visitors. They needed to be insured. We needed to provide proof to the building that they're allowed to do work in our office suite. So all of those things we know we need to build into our product, and we are working to bring all of that in the future versions, as well as a group check-in. So when I invite Rob to come to meet me at my office in New York, I know for a fact that Rob is not going to show up alone. Rob is going to bring Mike and Michael and Yoni, and there's going to be a whole entourage of people who are coming to visit. And how do I enable that seamless way of giving Rob the ability to invite everybody else who's coming with him, and also each one of those people, how do they pre-register online? So when they come on site, they have a quick and seamless entry into the building, and you're not backing up your lobbies. So that is all from me. We can go to some of the other frequently asked questions with Rob and Mike, and then we'll circle back with all the questions from the audience.
Yeah, so just to recap on a few FAQs, there have been a number of questions in the chat. So if you've been following along there's a lot of answers and questions there. But these are some of the FAQs that we've gotten already from our initial demonstrations of this product to a few customers. So in terms of what hardware do I need? Well, there's a few answers to that question, but if you're planning on using these QR codes as a touchless credential for your guests, we have a few different models of QR code scanners that will be installed either in the wall next to an existing reader, in the turnstile, elevator. There's a few different form factors for those QR code readers, and have a few different price ranges and manufacturers there. So it really is tailored to the specific deployment you're looking for. And then obviously Mattia showed off the iPad kiosk. So in that case, you just need an iPad and a stand. But with the interaction with the access control system, usually there's no new cabling that needs to be put in place, because the cabling that's out there for an existing card reader will also double as the cabling for your Weekend QR code reader. So how does it work with destination dispatch? This is there's a lot of different answers to this question. It depends on your destination dispatch system, depends on the elevator hardware manufacturer, but essentially the back-end functionality is all the same. We're issuing Weekend-based credentials in a QR code. As long as the elevator can accept a Weekend QR code through a QR code scanner, then the credentials that we're issuing can be supported and sent to a destination dispatch system for validation of guests. But if you're a building operator and you have destination dispatch and you're wondering if you can use this, please reach out to us so we can evaluate that with you on a case-by-case basis. How many readers do I need entering a building? We typically recommend, this is, again, one of those questions that has a lot of different answers based on the physical layout of your office or your building. We typically recommend having one central location, though, for all guests to come in. That's very natural for an enterprise office where you have a lobby entrance. But in a building with multiple turnstiles, we usually recommend having only one turnstile for guests, or at least one turnstile per elevator lobby, just to keep the cost down, as well as making sure that from a security standpoint, that guests can't just enter from any direction, that you have some sort of flow path for them to come in and out of the building. Does it work with parking and turnstiles? Absolutely. One rule of thumb here is that anywhere you're using a key card or one of our mobile keys to enter a door, you can use a QR code with a QR code scanner. So there's no difference in the hardware from a wiring perspective or from the controller side. How quickly does a QR code respond? It's fairly instantaneous. If you're talking about using the QR code as a credential at a door or an entrance point, it's just as fast as you would with a physical card. Because again, this QR codes and the credential numbers that we're storing in the QR code are stored locally on your access control panel. There's no interaction with the cloud after the credential's been issued. So I see a couple questions here as well. One from Andrew Russo: outdoor QR code scanning, and how secure are QR codes? So outdoor QR code scanners, yes, we have a few. I put a link, and I'm going to repost it in the chat as well, just so you guys can see a few different variations of these QR code scanners. But there are outdoor readers. Of course, lighting conditions can weigh on how quickly the credential is read and how close you need to put the QR code to the QR code scanner. But yes, there are outdoor QR code scanners. And how secure are they? Well, we lock down the QR code validate time frame to your specific meeting requirements. So if I invite Rob to come over to our office in Irvine and I put in the time parameters as 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m., well, the QR code is only going to be valid during that time frame. We are going to be releasing a rotating QR code feature as well. So that's going to be coming here in fairly soon. But for right now, we think that the time parameter restrictions are enough to suffice. If there's any other questions, of course, please reach out to our team. But that's enough of me talking. I'm going to hand it off to Rob to close this out.
All right. Just want to once again thank you everybody for attending. We know everybody is busy and you're on a lot of Zooms and Teams meetings all day long, so we appreciate you taking the time. Mike and Mattia, wonderful job. Thank you so much for delivering a wonderful product and a great message. We're excited to bring this to the marketplace. Once again, this is all recorded. As part of our follow-up email, you will receive a thank you, as well as a link to the video that you can feel free to share with any of your colleagues. For those of you who have any questions about any of our services, you can reach out to myself, to Mike, or to Mattia. Mike's posting all of our emails there in the chat. You can always, and we're here to help. If you have specifics about your building that you want us to scope out, let us know. We're more than happy to help you discuss your building, the nuances of your building, or your suite, or your locations all across the world, to help you get an idea of what it would take to implement this system in any of your buildings. And there's no charge to do that. We do want to be helpful to help you scope it out. Of course, we hope you subscribe to it, but our goal is to help you understand exactly what it's going to take to implement a system. So, but I want to thank everybody again for your time. Have a wonderful day, and we'll follow up soon. Take care.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.